What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rare Barrel. That's right. We're back. It's been a minute. We apologize. It's been busy.
Yes.
New year, all that craziness. You know how it goes. But we're coming to you from the Bourbon Bunker Studios, and we've got the top 5 beginner bourbons.
Yes.
Let's start it off with an old classic from your grandfather's cabinet, Woodford Reserve. We've got the double oak variant. You can tell we're on our last drops, but don't worry. Fear not. Fear not. There's a backup over there.
There's more, huh?
There's more. Not only is there more of just a Woodford Reserve double oak, we also have a Woodford Reserve double oak store pick. That we should probably crack into soon.
We should.
Now, Woodford Double Oaked is a classic. Now, if you don't know what a double oaked is, because maybe you're a beginner, first, the bourbon is finished in a regular white American charred oak barrel, all that good stuff, and then is finished in a second oak barrel. It could be a toasted barrel with a lighter char, but it's finished in a second barrel, so they call that double oaked. That's what Woodford calls it. Yeah.
The second barrel, does it have to follow the same guidelines as the first barrel in order to be bourbon?
No guidelines on the second barrel.
Okay.
You're bourbon once you come out of that first barrel, and now you're finished bourbon
Got it.
when you hit. You don't have to call it that. There's no guidelines. After you're bourbon, you're bourbon. That's it.
Once you're bourbon, there's no going back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't think you can throw flavor in it. So if you're a bourbon and then you toss a bunch of vanilla in there, it's not a bourbon. It's something else.
Whiskey.
Yeah, pretty much. But finishing your bourbon in another oak barrel, not a problem. You can do it. Go for it. So this is Woodford Reserve Double Oaked, a classic. You should definitely have it on your bar or your cabinet, wherever you're hiding the liquor and you're digging.
It smells lovely, honestly.
Yeah, it's your...
It's very...
Wow. It's got a marshmallow vibe to it.
Yeah. It's kind of your classic sweeter on the nose for me. Like caramels, little marshmallow maybe. It's kind of soft. It's nothing...
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, we went through this list and we kind of got a bourbon from kind of 5 of the main players in the bourbon game. They've been doing it for a hot minute. So they kind of got things dialed in and figured out. And these guys come from the distillery or the main overarching umbrella of Brown-Forman. These guys also make Jack Daniels and Old Forester. They're kind of the 3 big ones that come out of there. So yeah, that's number 1 on the list of our top 5.
Doesn't mean it's number 1.
No.
It's one of the 5,
It's
right?
just one of the 5. These are in no particular order. It's just 5 that you should...
But if you're a beginner...
And you're wanting to explore.
This is one that you should try.
Yep.
And what's the price point on this one?
All of these, if you're paying over $50 for these, you're paying too much.
Okay.
So there'll be a range between, 25 to 50.
Okay. So you could sip it, neat, a little bit of ice. You could also make a nice cocktail out of them.
Yep. Now these aren't budget bourbons either, because you can go into your liquor store, find a bunch of bourbons on the bottom shelf for like $15 to $20. These are not those. These are a little more complex than those, so they're kind of going to give you a little bit more of a, if you're a beginner into this, you're not necessarily wanting to start on the bottom shelf, because that's not going to be your best profile for that particular brand. These ones here are kind of your middle of the road on your way into exploring what bourbon
The
really
good.
The decent good, yeah. Now we've got our friends at Wild Turkey who also bring us Russell's. And this is Russell's 10-year... Oh, that first one, Woodford Double Oak, sorry. I forgot to say that this one comes in at a whopping 90.4 proof. So
pretty easy.
Pretty easy sipper, especially if you're getting started and you're just kind of learning what you like in bourbon, starting a little bit lower proof at that 90-ish. Same with this one with Russell's Reserve, 10-year, meaning it was aged in its barrel for 10 years. And this is generally a blend of barrels. So when they say 10-year, that is the minimum, whatever barrel is in there, that's the minimum age of it. So there could be an 11 or a 12-year-old barrel in here, but the minimum age is 10 years on the barrel. This one comes in at 90 proof as well. Woo! Great pop.
You can't beat Russell's. I mean, they have some really good ones. So
You're kind of a fan of them.
I'm a big fan. Wild
we have
Turkey.
a store pick from our friends at 7 Ace, and it is delicious.
It's so good.
It's one to go back to several times, and we've got backups for that bad boy.
And I guessed it.
You did guess it. The other night we had a pour of it, and I had her guess what she thought it was, and boom.
I think it's the first time I've
nailed
guessed correctly what I was drinking, so it was kind of fun.
Now, Russell's, again, like we said, comes out of the Wild Turkey Distillery. It's the Russell boys, you know, the generations of Russells that have been there, Jimmy, Eddie, and I forget the last guy now for some reason. You guys can let us know in the comments below.
It'll come to you.
It'll come somewhere. This is a good... Now, they have a whole lineup. You can see it back up over there. They've got a single barrel. They've got single barrel selects, so store picks. Really phenomenal store picks generally come up from Russell's. They also have the Russell's 13-year, meaning that the minimum age of that one is 13 years. And they are releasing this year a 15-year.
They are going to. Okay,
Yep.
we were curious.
It's happening.
Oh boy.
It's official.
I'd
You
like
know
to
the
get
hunt
my
is on.
hands on that one.
The hunt is on.
This one is a little bit different. I mean,
Yep.
it's super smooth. What did you say the proof was?
This one's 90.
Yeah, so it's smooth, but it has a little bit of complexity. So again, it's more of a beginner bourbon. You're kind of on your way up to some of the more complex ones. But
Now-
I got some tobacco on that, like a
Yep.
little bit of that kind of leathery tobacco, which is a little bit different.
And that you'll find because it is a 10-year aged bourbon. Now, there's not much for age statements on like Woodford, but generally it's going to be between that 6 and 8 year range. They don't age state it, but that's kind of what people are saying. So this one here should give you more of a sweet oak. You'll notice the oak more in an older aged bourbon generally. That's not always. That's not like a hard and fast rule. Generally, you're going to get more oak the longer it's in the barrel, though. And so that's kind of what you're getting out of this, is that oak and that leather towards the back end of the palate, but then towards the front, you got those sweet caramels and vanillas.
Yeah, it's good. And again, both of these so far have been a little bit less heat, so not super spicy, not a ton of the like hot spice in
Right.
general. So
Now,
easier.
both of these, the mash bill is going to have 51% corn at a minimum, because it is bourbon. And for these two, it's using rye and barley for this. So that brings us to our next one from our friends over at Maker's Mark. Now, Maker's Mark is part of the Jim Beam, Campari kind of conglomerate of people. This will be, in this list, our first, and maybe not only. This is our first wheated bourbon. So instead of the rye, they're using wheat, which generally
sweeter.
gives it a sweeter vibe. Oh, this is a screw top. Oh my god.
Really?
They always get me.
Are all of
Smells
them like that?
wax.
It's just because it's that holiday one or the cheaper one.
Yeah, this is a
Limited edition.
lower end, like if you wanted a higher end one of Maker's Mark, they have like a Maker's Mark cask strength and different things like that. A Maker's 46. They have several different types of makers, but this is kind of their semi entry level one.
I mean, again, these aren't budget bourbons. They're not.
No.
But for beginners, I
This
mean,
one's still coming in at
it's
like
beautiful
30,
still.
$35, something like that.
The smell is.
It's going
the
to.
nose is nice.
The weeded ones are going to give you a little smoother note, and you should get maybe a little bit of honey. A lot of times, the weeded bourbons will give you a honey note on there.
Oh yeah, definitely honey. I like to let it sit for just like a minute on my mouth before I.
So this one is a little bit flatter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely honey. Wow.
Yeah, and it has a little bit of kick at the end too, so you're kind of getting a little bit of that heat, that zing that you get with some of the higher proof bourbons.
Right. This one again is coming in at 90 proof.
It's a good one.
That's Maker's Mark. Everybody kind of knows it. It's a good staple to have on the bar as a beginner, and it gives you that different flavor profile or that different mash bill, right?
Sure.
So this is your weeded bourbon, so it gives you that. Maybe you're a weeded person. Mm-hmm. This is a good way to kind of enter into that side of it. 'Cause there's a lot of great weeded bourbons like Weller or Special Reserve or any of the Weller lineups, all weeded. They come from Buffalo Trace. Which, speaking of that, that's a beautiful segue into our next bourbon. And it is Buffalo Trace, but like we were saying, the weeded ones, just trying out all these different types of bourbons. That's why we're in this lineup. We have bourbons from different distilleries to kind of help you decide which one is more your style. And it's all about just trying. These are just 5. There could have been 30.
30, yeah. I was going to say 30.
Because we were even just sitting here, it's like we were thinking, what ones do we want to include? You could do like a Knob Creek.
Old Forester.
You could do an Old Forester. You could do...
Four Roses.
Yeah, there's so many good bourbons, but this kind of gives you that main big 5.
As a starting point.
As a starting point. Yeah. And then, if you don't like any of these...
We'll do another video and give you 5 more.
There you go. Maybe in the comments.
Oh, yeah. Say what
your favorite beginner bourbons are or were. Like, where did you start?
Yeah.
Where did you begin your bourbon journey? What was the first one you had that you were like, ooh, I kind of like bourbon?
Yeah.
What was mine?
I was literally just thinking about that because we bought a couple that were not super allocated or crazy, but we pretty quickly went right to the first one. The first big one that we got was the Joseph A. Magnus cigar blend, wasn't it?
Yep.
So.
And that one was... We didn't open right away.
No.
We waited. We thought we would wait for the special occasion, but then we found our second one. We kept the first one for a special occasion.
Still haven't opened it.
Still have not opened that one.
Yeah.
I think the first whiskey on the whiskey side of things was probably just your regular Crown. For me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is that sweeter, mapley kind of whiskey. It's obviously not bourbon, but that's kind of what I got into that, and then I started exploring. Do I like Canadian? Do I like Irish whiskey? Do I like Scotch? And ultimately landed on bourbon, and it's been insane from there.
Yep.
What do you think of that one?
Well, I love Buffalo Trace, so I would say Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare are 2 that, they can be hard to find in some places. We've been really lucky that we're able to find it, at least now, pretty easily, and we know what to pay for it, which is not a ton.
We did not know that going into the beginning.
We did
of
not.
this.
No, but it's
we
really
want to help
good.
You.
Yeah,
not pay too much.
Don't pay too much.
This is not worth anything over $30. That's even a little high.
Yeah.
Like the bourbon inside the bottle. A lot of people chase the name. They chase the bottle, but the bourbon inside of the bottle is not really worth more than $30 because if you're going to spend $30, there's better things out there. Yep. Or if you're going to spend $50 or $60 on a bottle, there's better bourbons for that price.
Yeah.
So this is not that. These are just a beginner.
But it's great. I love it. I mean, it's a very classic flavor. It's flavor profile. It's very smooth. On the nose, it's really sweet and
they've got a fruity
tasty.
note.
Yep, they have some
Buffalo
of the cherry.
Trace is a fruity, fruit forward kind of for the most part. Yeah.
It's good.
Got a really fruit and floral kind of note to it, where the other ones are just more of that oak, more of that caramel, different things like that. More savory, maybe. This one's like bright. Wow. I think I have a cut on the roof of my mouth. Yeah.
That feels
Had some
good.
pizza earlier, and
Burnt
did
the roof of your mouth?
Did something to the top of my mouth, and it feels great every sip. Love it. The squeaky chair is great too. But like we were saying, Buffalo Trace, generally the most hype. Obviously, Pappy Van Winkle comes out of Buffalo Trace. The whole BTAC collection comes out of there. Very delicious stuff.
Yeah.
That's coming out of Buffalo Trace. But again, watch what you're paying for a bottle of this. Even with the Eagle Rare, anything over $50 is. I wouldn't do it. But now
we have.
I found a bottle.
Yeah, we have done it.
We have done it. We did it. We learned our lesson. It's not.
Yeah.
It's that FOMO kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I want that. I want to see what it's like.
Yeah.
I would say, go find yourself a relatively cheap pour of it at a bar somewhere to see if you even like it.
Yeah.
When it comes to these more expensive bottles or harder to find bottles, I would do that. Figure out if you like it. Then if you like it and think it's worth $50, $60, $70, that's up to you.
Yep.
Last but not least, our friends at Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill.
This one's packing the biggest punch tonight. At 100 proof, this is a bottled in bond. Now that is a government set definition. So back when Prohibition was happening, the Bottled in Bond Act came out and it set some parameters for what bourbon needed to be considered bottled in bond. And so a lot of the bourbon was stored in government bonded warehouses. It needed to be 100 proof. It needed to be aged for no less than 4 years. And then all the other stuff that makes bourbon. One of our subscribers mentioned something very important, and I totally agreed with them. We need to make sure that we're really showcasing the bottles that we're talking about. For anybody that's new, they may not know what the bottle that we're talking about looks like.
Yeah.
And so he made a great point and said we need to make sure and show the bottles. Here they are. I hope we've shown all the rest of them. I think we have.
We did.
Done a good job of showing all the rest of them. But I want to make sure that anybody new to any of this knows exactly what it is we're talking about. This is Heaven Hill from none other than Heaven Hill.
Ooh,
They're a very big distillery. They have Elijah Craig comes out of Heaven Hill. Evan Williams comes out of Heaven Hill. Larceny comes out of Heaven Hill. Old Fitz comes out of Heaven Hill. A lot of great things come out of Heaven Hill.
And this is tasty. I mean, it's more complex than the others, in my opinion. You know, the Makers has a little bit of that spiciness, but it's pretty tasty. Is this one weeded?
I can't remember. Let us know in the comments if you know. But this one here would be the highest price on this list as far as bourbons go. It's also bottled in bond, which adds value to it, so it's coming in at a higher proof. Bottled in bond is a very respected term because it is held to a different standard inside of bourbon. So you can get a little bit more of a premium for that if you follow that process, being bottled in bond.
I probably like it a little bit more too because I like a higher proof, so it just adds a lot more complexity for me. I like a little bit more heat on my tongue, and
wow, that's tasty.
It's good.
That might be my favorite of the night.
Yeah.
Heaven Hill, you just
bringing it home.
So that's it. That's the whole list. This one, I don't know. We didn't give notes on this one. This one's again is sweet. All of these have been sweet. Bourbon's generally sweet.
Yeah.
There are ones that kind of lean more towards the savory sweet, but in general, bourbon's going to be sweet.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think as we've been on this journey, I'm overwhelmed by how different the bourbons can all taste. Like the cigar blends, I mean, I remember feeling like there's no way it's going to be smoky. Like, how does this happen? But it does. And it's crazy. And even the ones you get that like leather and tobacco is it's so crazy. And like cherries or banana.
Or
like
grape.
What about the banana Old
Yeah.
Forester that we had that one time?
yeah.
I mean, so it's pretty cool.
Butterscotch?
Butterscotch.
Oh my gosh.
Chocolate.
It's just fun trying to try all these different bourbons and find those notes. You hear people talking about them and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to find that. So that's kind of been fun for us. We go out to different places, different restaurants and bars, and we're like, oh, let's try something we don't have, something new, something different. It's just a lot of fun, kind of learning the backstory of all these different bourbons and distilleries and how they. Now it could be a bunch of marketing hype, some guys in a room making up a story. Doesn't matter. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Some
But
of it's true,
usually,
some of it's not.
Usually there's some pretty cool backstory on the
Yeah.
distilleries, and usually it's family related, and it goes back generations, and it's just really cool
Yep.
history. So
Just make it fun. That's what it's all
Yeah.
about. Sharing bourbon with your friends, and sharing the stories. A lot of them are fun hunting stories. Like we have a ton of fun hunting stories, just looking for cool new bourbons, and so we want to just bring them on here, share them with you. Let us know what your favorite is for like a beginner bourbon.
yeah,
Under $50. Let us know what you started on. Like, where did you start your bourbon journey? What was the first bourbon you had? And share that with the group. Share that with other subscribers. I'm sure they would all be very interested. And while you're doing that, hit that subscribe button and maybe hit that like button too. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We've got a bunch of crazy awesome stuff coming up. We are ramping up this channel
that's right.
and everything that's attached to it. So thank you so much for your support. We appreciate it more than you even know. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.